Today we have a very special midweek portion of Zenless Zone Zero news because today the developers have done something that I don't think anyone expected. Now, firstly, the context. We did finally get the drip marketing for patch 1.6 today, but this seemingly, for multiple reasons, seemed like it came out of the blue. It was a bit later than the usual social media posts by about 6 hours, and that being said, it was not Hugo Vlad, it was not the umbrella girl we saw in the trailer, and it was not any of the virtual idols. I want to say that it's a pair of brand new faces, but at the same time, it kind of isn't, because the first one that was teased was Anby, with a special title, The Silver Soldier, not to be confused with the Silver Surfer. That is something completely different. Now, there is a lot to take in with this announcement, but let's go over it slowly, bit by bit. Firstly, she is an electric attacker, so maybe we really are moving away from anomaly agents. And I think that's kind of understandable. I don't think anyone will be able to hold a candle to Miyabi for a good while, so I think attackers are the way to go for the foreseeable future. But also, Soldier Anby is from an unknown faction. Now, that being said, this is still very likely the same Anby that we know from the story in The Cunning Hares. I'm sure that the 1.6 story will likely have a reason as to why we have met this other version of an Anby, but only time will tell. Who knows, maybe it's like a time skip episode. We're gonna see before the collapse what happened to Anby and the rest of them. But like I said, we do know that it is our Anby because she even mentions in her quote that if Nicole asks, please cover for me. And then further, in the quotes from other agents, Nicole even mentions that it is weird seeing Anby quote-unquote back in this outfit, as if she has seen this in the past beforehand. Maybe this past that we're talking about is when Anby was still a soldier alongside Soldier 11. You know, now that I think about it, we should have seen it coming. The real teasing wasn't the trailer with the mysterious man or the umbrella girl. The real teasing was in that puzzle event all along, with that shot of Anby and Soldier 11 fighting together side by side. That was the real drip marketing tease. But one other interesting quote there about Anby comes from a familiar name, and that is Trigger, someone else that we know is from the Obol squad. So the fact that Anby is from a quote-unquote unknown faction might just be that we don't know yet until the story. Maybe this is our first Obol squad member and they're just hiding it for lore reasons. In which case, I'm very excited to see Soldiers 1 through 9 as well, if we have Soldier 10 and 11 with Anby and Soldier 11 of course. But speaking of next agents, another familiar face that was drip marketed on the same day today was Pulchra, who we all know and most of us probably love. I'll be honest, I'm very happy that we're getting some more out there type of designs, again with a Theron as opposed to a regular looking girl. Of course, everyone remembers Pulchra from patch 1.2 with the Sons of Caledon story, and rightfully so, she is also going to be a member of the Sons of Caledon as a physical stunner. The last we saw of Pulchra, she was still scheming against the Sons of Caledon, but Caesar's quote about her says that all of that is now water under the bridge. So again, maybe we will see some sort of story involvement with Pulchra where she makes amends with the Sons of Caledon. One thing of note though is that in the little teaser videos, neither Pulchra nor Soldier Anby had voice lines. I'm sure this is nothing too noteworthy, after all we already know what both Anby and Pulchra sound like. But what is important is that Soldier Anby had a live 2D model in her video. Meanwhile, Pulchra had a still image in her video. The only other time that someone has had a drip marketing with a still image was Seth, and he turned out to be an A rank. So I think it's a very easy assumption to say that Pulchra is going to be an A rank agent and our first one since 1.1. But more importantly than that though, it means that there is still one more S rank agent to be drip marketed, which is very likely to happen tomorrow. Now the question is though, who's it going to be? The fact that Soldier Anby is part of the faction unknown does make it a bit hard to sort of guess who is going to be coming up next, because normally you could say, oh, they try to keep things in factions, right? But we can likely assume that the other agent is also going to play some sort of role in the patch 1.6 story. And so, if Anby and her past in the potential Obol squad is in there, either the other agent could be somebody else from her past, and it could very well be a brand new faction that we have never heard of and it will only be referenced starting in 1.6 with Anby's past, or another option is that it could be a member of Obol squad. For example, Trigger or Tinfoil Hat Time. Maybe there are other quote-unquote past selves of agents that we will meet. If we're doing some sort of time travel shenanigans, looking into the past, maybe there are other S-rank versions of agents that are now on the table. Who's to say that Anby is the only one with a mysterious past? We do still have Billy, which means that there's now a non-zero chance for a potential S-rank Starlight Knight Billy. back when he was still the champion of the Sons of Caledon before Lighter came around. Now, this type of announcement of not just a new A rank, but also an S rank version of one of the OG cast members seems like a huge play by miHoYo to get everyone to whip out their credit cards, and it's probably gonna work, especially considering many people probably just went all out to get Miyabi, and then having the first limited supporter right after that, which everyone knows is always a quote-unquote must pull. I would not be surprised if this is actually the new schedule for drip marketing moving forward, only revealing things a day or two after the new banners do go up. Because imagine if this was announced before Astra's banner. I feel like a good amount of people out there probably would have suddenly decided to skip Astra to save instead for Anby. Again, miHoYo have the data, they probably know that everyone dumps all of their polychromes day one, and then after that is when it starts to slow down. So they know when to strike when we are at our weakest. Financially, of course. For example, I'm sure there are some of you out there that are probably rejoicing by the fact that you skipped out on Astra, or at least that you waited on Astra's banner to first see what comes next. That's why I always recommend, if you're unsure about getting them, wait till you see what else is in the future. Maybe you'll see something that you like more instead. For me, honestly, I was already favoring Evelyn over Astra, but now with Anby and even Pulchra too, I kind of feel like I've already forgotten about Astra. Yeah, I mean, she's good for, oh my gosh, you can now clear stuff 20% faster. But from a fun gameplay perspective, all Astra does is you press your skill button once and then you never touch her again. Meanwhile, you could have a fancy new toy like an attacker or a stun agent that has all these flashy new moves. But I think this is a lesson moving forward when it comes to drip marketing. miHoYo know what they are doing with this stuff. So this is a message to you. If you are running tight on polychromes, don't let the FOMO get to you. The new agent is always going to seem super broken and overpowered because all the endgame buffs are going to favor them. In 6 months from now, they won't have their special buffs. They'll be power crept most likely. But on the other hand, if you pull for someone that you like because you love them, 6 months down the line, you can't power creep love. Also, as a side note, I joked earlier about calling Anby the Silver Surfer instead of the Silver Soldier, but if there are any artists out there, I am about to give you a brilliant idea free of charge. Imagine this. Anby, the Silver Surfer, but instead of a surfboard, she's riding Nekomata when she does her funny planking pose when you get that wipeout screen with her. You are welcome. But yeah, I figured this news was important enough that you all needed to know this to help you potentially plan out whether or not you still want to roll on one of the many banners that are going to be running this patch. Thankfully, as I mentioned last video, the patch is going to be a bit longer than usual, 1 week longer, so it gives you a little bit more time to save up. Do keep an eye out on the official Zenless Zone Zero media accounts for the next agent to be teased. I'm going to place my bet now and say it's going to be another Obol squad member. I don't know if it'll be Trigger. Maybe they'll surprise us again with somebody else that hasn't been teased at all. As a heads up though, I probably won't do another follow-up video for the next drip marketed character because I don't think it'll be nearly as jaw-dropping as what was just announced today. Unless like it's something ridiculous, say they bring Pompey back but he's as a playable agent. But I think it's safe to say that won't happen. Otherwise though, that is going to be it for the hotfix news roundup of Zenless Zone Zero. As always, if you found this useful, liking, commenting and subscribing is greatly appreciated. So until next time, bye bye.